We're here at Happy Hollow Gun Range today with Craig Endicott of the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. What I'm going to do is just a little patterning of my shotgun. This is just a smart thing for any hunter to do. I've used the same loads for years and years, and today I'm really going to find out, well, are those the loads that I should have been using all this time? Are they effective from ducks over decoys out to about 40 yards? What I'm going to test are 3-inch number 2s and 3-inch number 4s in steel. The number 2s are good for big ducks, as Craig will explain with the lethality chart here later. And the number 4s, maybe with the smaller ducks, you get some wood ducks or a gadwall morning or a widgeon morning in, maybe you want to switch to 4s. And that's generally what I've done, but has it been the right thing? I guess we're going to find out. Got my 3-inch number 2. I've got an improved cylinder choke in the gun, and this is 40 yards right here. So when I'm aiming, my muzzle's at 40 yards out. Just put one in the center of the board. Just
shoot for the middle of it, and as long as you can get the pattern on the paper, we'll go down there and look at it.
Well, I hope so.
String set up so you can draw this 30-inch circle here, and what we need to do first is kind of decide where the center of this is. Yeah. Somewhere in here that'll work to start with.
And I'll just push that pin in.
Looks like it might be just right up here a little higher. Yeah, just.
You got a better eye for that than I do. It's not very exact this way.
But it's plenty close there.
Close enough, huh?
Looks pretty good.
All right.
First of all, you need to remember that you need to do at least 3 of these so you get an average. You don't just shoot one and go with those numbers, because there's a lot of variation between even shot between shot on a shotgun. So you want to shoot at least 3 of them and get an average. But just for illustration purposes, we're looking at this one here, and we see there's 111 pellet strikes in that pattern. Right. So if we go back and look at our concept lethality table, and if you'll remember, you were talking about getting a load that's appropriate for large ducks, which is primarily mallards, over decoys. Your distance was 40 yards here.
Right.
As long as you have 85 to 90 pellets in that 30-inch circle that are well distributed, then the duck is dead.
Sure.
So if it'll kill mallards, it'll kill teal. That's not necessarily so.
Right.
And we know that because we've got this lethality data, you know, from concept. And Tom Rosser that have put all this together. So
that's where I guess it's worked out well when, in the past, when we get a morning where you have a lot of widgeon or wood duck or something, I'll switch to shooting 4s, which theoretically should have a more dense pattern and more pellets.
Exactly right, and that's what the table leads you to show. When you go to medium ducks or smaller ducks, you need more pattern density to reliably hit the vital areas of that bird. And so you have to go to smaller pellets typically, or closer ranges, to maintain those minimum pellet counts to be effective on them.
See, now my curiosity is up and I want to try some more, but why don't we throw a 4 in and see what it does and see if that density does that.
Let's try it.
All right. Well, now we'll try the number 4, which is typically what I put in if we have a smaller duck morning. A lot of widgeons flying, things like that. I'll switch from 2s to 4s. Got right to the top of the paper.
Yep. 2 3/4 inch, 1 1/8 of number 4 steel. You ended up with 152 pellet strikes in the pattern. You can see we are definitely in the ballpark.
It's even good for
we exceed the minimum pattern count. So this load, out to 40 yards, if the teal doesn't die,
it's my fault.
Unfortunately, you haven't done your part. Now, if we remember from the other pattern, you know, it was not a good teal because it had 110 to 111 pellets in it. It wouldn't reach the minimum, so it wouldn't be a good teal load, but this one would. Teal or medium ducks, you know, and you get to 115 to 120. So we know by this that you've been right on. When you're shooting smaller ducks, you'll have a number 4 in.
I like that. Let's go get some ducks.
Okay. And now if you want to try some goose loads, we'll see how it does on a goose.
I wouldn't mind doing that. Okay, it's high again.
Now that we've drawn our 30-inch circle, And as you can see, you're going to probably have a pretty tough time with that improved cylinder maintaining that pattern
getting
density.
Not much further than 40.
But you're in good shape as long as they're decoying. You know, they're at 40 yards.
Yeah.
Typically, geese are shot a little farther away than ducks, though. So, you know, if you were going to truly use it as a goose, you'd probably a goose load and choke. You'd probably want to go up to a modified. Maybe set this thing at 50 yards and shoot a few of them at that distance to confirm that that you'll be good or better for a longer range goose.
Sure.
But what it's proved is from 40 in, the goose doesn't die there again. You just haven't taken care of business.
There you go.
So
well, we patterned up my gun on 3 different loads, and looks like I've been doing things right, accidentally or by luck so far.
Working good.
Yeah, good dense patterns out at 40 yards. Improved cylinder with the 3 different loads for geese, for larger ducks, and for medium to smaller ducks all the way through. But what would have happened? What would we have done if we would have shot and not made the numbers? Then what would be the next step?
Well, there's a few things that you can do to try and correct that. Obviously, you can go up in a tighter choke. And say your Mallard load wasn't putting that 85 to 90 that you needed out there, it was more like 70 or 80, then you can tighten up your choke. You had an improved cylinder in there. You could go on to a modified or a light modified, what some of them call between improved cylinder and modified. Try and tighten up that pattern a little bit so you can maintain that density out to that distance. You can also adjust your shot sizes. As long as those sizes stay within the range you're listed on the table, you could go to a number 3 pellet, which is a great all-round duck pellet. You could go to a 3 instead of a 2, which is still just fine for mallards, and it'll give you a little more pattern density because there's going to be a few more pellets in there. So you have the possibility of having more of them in the pattern. So those are a couple things you can do. The only other thing that you have is if you were shooting a really tight choke and your pattern was real small, then you'd want to go to more open chokes to make it hitting easier. You know, to open your pattern up a little bit if it's overly dense. Yeah.
Fill that 30-inch there.
That's right. Fill it up.
So let's get out and pattern and check out the chart on page 21 of the waterfowl guide and get out and practice.
And then go shoot some clay targets. You bet. Practice yourself up. Yeah.
Yep. That's the deal.
And get those ducks close and you can kill them.